everything dependent on God. Work as though everything dependent on you. A quote by Saint Augustine. May I now call upon Mr. Andrew Rupert Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, to invoke the blessings of Lord Almighty.
Prayer. Dear God, thank you for all the blessings you have poured on us. We are truly grateful for them. Thank you for allowing us to meet and share our knowledge and time with one another in this webinar. Bless our speaker to share his knowledge with your divine wisdom. Bless the participants so that they will receive the knowledge through this event. Dear God, bless our chairman, managing director, general manager, principal, head of the department, faculty members, students, and organizers. Guide us to serve in your name. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
We, Francis Xavier Engineering College, Department of ECE, in association with FX Alumni Association, extend our cordial welcome to the speaker of today's event, Engineer Balasubramaniam Maharajan, UAV Engineer, EDOL Systems, and who is an alumnus of 2014 batch. So really we feel privileged in welcoming the speaker of today's event. Next, we would like to welcome the participants of today's session who has joined us across the state and from different countries. We cordially welcome one and all. We heartily welcome Mr. Krishna Kumar Sir, who is the Professor Alumni, who is supporting us and motivating us in all our sessions. And we are extremely thankful for our management, who is a continuous source of motivation and encouragement for all our activities. So now, with this, now it's time to introduce the speaker of today's event, Engineer Balasubramaniam Maharajan. So I request Mr. Suresh Sir, Assistant Professor, as well as the coordinator of this event, to introduce the speaker to us.
Yeah, it's my great pleasure to introduce Engineer Balasubramaniam Maharajan, UAV Engineer, EDOL Systems, Bangalore, India, for a webinar on unmanned aerial vehicles and overview. He has completed master degree in MS program in Advanced Electrical and Electronics Engineering from University of Leicester and from United Kingdom. And he has completed BE Electronics and Communication Engineering from Francis Xavier Engineering College, India, and he has handled many projects in unmanned area vehicles. He has specialist in unmanned aerial vehicles, especially he has completed many projects in spam drones, obstacle avoidance, surveillance drones, pesticide drones, medical drone, payload dropping drones, object tracking, and various projects for DRDO, Air Force, and Indian Army. And we have such a potential resource person. And with this great introduction, I hand over session to Engineer Balasubramaniam Maharajan. Thank you, sir. And I request Engineer Balasubramaniam Maharajan to take the session. Thank you.
I am Balasubramaniam, and I am working as a UAV engineer in EDOL Systems. I am a 2014 pass out from EC department, Francis Xavier. First of all, I'd like to thank Friska ma'am, HOD EC, for giving me this opportunity. And I would like to thank Suresh sir, Mr. Kanan sir, and SX sir for organizing this webinar. Well, the fascination for drones for me started when I was doing my engineering in FX Engineering College. My final year project was a mini quadcopter drone. So that's where it all started. The college was a huge support as we were doing our project in DRDO, and we had to be away from the college. Since we are doing the project in DRDO, we had to be away a lot. So the college and the staff were very helpful for us in doing so. All thanks to Mr. Kanan sir and Isik sir and our college for all the support provided, which was a stepping stone for me to enter the drone industry. So we'll start with this session. I am currently working in EDOL Systems, and I handle theoretical design, integration, testing, and delivery of the drones. So when a client gives us an order, we customize the drones based on their order. So we look at what an UAV is first. A UAV is an unmanned aerial vehicle. which means that there is no pilot on board. The drone can be controlled by the pilot, which is on the ground, or it can be flown autonomously. There usually is a computer or a mini computer on board the aircraft, which controls the drone. It can be made to operate automatically, or we can give it commands to operate from our side, which is from the drone. A drone's full form can be written as a dynamically remotely operated navigation system. There are many applications for drones that range from reconnaissance, meaning surveillance, which can be used in our border areas or in forest areas to catch forest fires, or people living in remote areas, and up to firefighting. So a larger drone can be used for firefighting, for surveillance, a smaller drone so that people don't find out that they're being surveyed out. The birth of UAVs, the starting of UAVs started as far as 1916, which was started in the US. The first drone, that the UAV drone, unmanned aerial vehicle, was named Aerial Target. The birth of UAVs, which they started using the drones in a commercial way, started in 1959 by the US, because they were facing a lot of casualties when they were going through the World War I and World War II. So that's where it all started. And they initialized their drones in the Vietnam War. So that was the first that they took. In India, we started drones a little later on, maybe around 1990s, when the Indian Army bought some UAVs from Israel, and then it was followed by the Air Force and the Navy. Later on, India wanted to make their own drones made in India. So DRDO gave the project up to ADE, which is in Bangalore, and they were responsible for making the UAVs, which is being used currently in India. We look at the types of UAVs that is available. Based on the wing type, there are two types of categories, which is a fixed wing and a rotary wing. Fixed wing meaning which is similar to the aircraft that we fly in, the commercial aircrafts, which has a wing. The rotary wing is similar to the multi-rotors, that is a drone. I'm sure everybody would have seen those drones which they use in the marriage recordings. So that's a multi-rotor drone. If you are looking for a based on objective, if you want to segregate them, it can be used as an unmanned combat aerial vehicle, which is used for combats, like sending it into other countries or fighting, or it can be as non-combat category. This classification is based on the range and altitude that it can fly, that's how high it can fly and how far a drone can fly. The small ones that we use, general purpose, which flies in our cities, which is small, is known as a MUV, a miniature UAV. The next range that ranges from maybe 50 kilometers. The next range will go from VTOL, which is a fixed wing, but it looks like a UAV. The next one goes to TUAV, tactical UAV, or the MALE. MALE is, the full form of MALE is medium altitude and long endurance. So that means that it will fly up to 200-meter altitude and can fly up to 100-kilometer radius. The HALs are the ones which are sent across the countries, which can fly up to 10,000 kilometers and at a very high altitude. This is an example of a rotary wing. You can see a helicopter is an example of a rotary wing. I'm sure you would have seen all the quadcopters or the hexacopters. So these photos show an example of a rotary wing which has vertical takeoff, meaning that it can take off in a very small area. It does not require any additional open area like a pathway or an open field. This slide shows the photos of some of the fixed wings, meaning the wings which has is fixed. It does not change. So here you can see these drones are known as a delta wing drone. There are different sizes, a micro one, small, which is thrown by a person, or the larger ones which requires runways. So based on the size of the drone, the medium of takeoff or the medium of it starts flying is different. This is an example of a tail sitter, meaning the drone is actually sitting on its tail. Once it takes off vertically, straight up, and then once it reaches an altitude, it turns direction and flies like a normal plane. So this is an example of a quad and a fixed wing combined. So now we'll look at a multi-rotor. What is a multi-rotor? Which we usually everybody would have seen. Right now they're using them for this corona virus for spraying medicines, or they're even trying to, the locust farm which is coming up, they're even trying to spray pesticides on the locust farm which is happening right now all over the country. So there are different types of quads. It's usually based on the number of motors that it has. These red and blue markings are known as the motors, depict the motors. So it can be all the way from 4. Here is a photo of a 6-motored one, which is called as a hexacopter 6. And if you're looking for 8 motors, it is known as it's known as a octocopter, which has 8 motors. So the limitation of motors is not a criteria. You can increase the number of motors, just the size of the drone will start increasing. The advantages of going higher number of motors is that you find higher stability. If one of the motors stop or malfunction, the drone will still stay in flying mode. It will not crash. So how does a quadcopter work? So this is a quad, is in sense 4 motors. So usually opposite motors run in the same direction, so that the central torque is always kept constant. That's how a drone doesn't keep rotating. That's how it gets stable. The motors on opposite spins are same. And by changing the RPM of the motors, meaning the speed of the motor, you can move the drone forward, back, left, right, and vertically. This is a very stable version of a UAV because it's easy to make and it's very easy to fly. Even if you lose control, it still stays airborne. So generally, we look at what all components a general drone requires. The control board, this is an example of a control board. It's called Pickstock. As I said before, you need a small computer, so that is the control board. Next, you'll require a frame just to mount all the equipment. A GPS, which is required so that the drone will always know where it is flying based on us and for it to know. Like we use our mobile phones for knowing where we currently are. It's the same way the drone knows how its current location is through the GPS. An electronic speed controller and the brushless motor both together combined is used for flying the drone, for reducing and increasing the speeds. A camera can be used for surveillance, a battery, and there are 3 different frequencies that we use for specific reasons. These 3 frequencies which we use are of a free band. I mean that you do not require a separate license from the government to use these licenses. The telemetry unit, meaning you get how fast the drone is flying, how high the drone is flying. You use this frequency for flying. The FPV unit, meaning the video part, which requires a higher bandwidth, meaning that a lot of data is transmitted because of videos from a long distance. So we use a higher frequency so that the bandwidth is higher. The control unit, meaning the joystick, the flying joystick that we use, that is controlled in the 2.4 gigahertz range. These are the small things that you require if you want to make a small quad by yourself for a college project. These are the basic things that you will require. This is the overall hardware that you can see, the connections, what all components that you require. So as you can see, the green ones are known as the ESCs, which control the drone. The motors, there are 4 motors, a battery, and this autopilot is known as the microcontroller, the autopilot board, which controls the drones through our commands. And then you have the receiver, a laptop, just the GCS or the transmitter. A GPS is also connected to the drone. This is the basic, just for takeoff, landing, moving here, just playing around things you can do with this specific amount of hardware. Now we look at a fixed wing principle, how a fixed wing flies, how does a plane fly. So this is a little bit different than the quads that we see. Like a normal plane, it has an propeller or the engine in the front, which provides thrust. Thrust meaning it pushes the drone front and the whole aircraft goes forward. And then the weight always acts down, as we know, because of gravity. And the lift is produced because of the air that passes over and above a fixed wing. And there is always drag because wind is always creating a drag based on all the components or the airframe that is present. So there is the 4 directions that's required for a fixed wing principle. These are the parts of a fixed wing or a plane one. There's an engine or a motor in the front. There's a battery and all the components which is placed internally. And this is a wing. The outside of the wing is made of sheet, just normal plastic sheet you can use. And the internal is made of balsa wood, just for the hard and rigid frame of it. The last part, this is known as a servo. Servo is used for changing direction, so it's connected to the tail, which changes direction. This is the basics of a fixed wing concept. This VTOL is a vertical takeoff and loiter drone, which means that it's a combination of a multi-rotor and a fixed wing. You can see that it looks like a plane, but it has 4 motors which look like a quad. Meaning, the major disadvantage that we face in a plane model is that it requires a runway, or for takeoff and landing, it requires a larger area. But when you go for a multi-rotor or a quadcopter, it requires very less area because it takes off vertically. So they wanted to combine both of them and make a fixed wing into a multi-rotor. So this plane, how it works is, once the 4 motors which are there, the quad motors start, it takes off vertically and it gains some speed in the forward direction, and then the main motors, that's the plane motors, start, and then it flies like a normal plane. And coming back and landing is also the same procedure. So this reduced the requirement of a larger area, flying in very congested places. This was very useful. This is the basic ground control station. Like when the drone is flying, you can get all the parameters, what the drone is seeing, where the drone is flying. All the parameters can be seen on this control station. This is just a basic application which can be installed on any OS, let it be a Windows or an iOS. Once you install this application and connect to your drone, let it be a quadcopter or a fixed wing, anything. So when you connect, you can see here, it shows where the drone is. This is the location of the drone. This is my current location. So it shows the exact location of the drone, and the H represents home. Meaning that if you have low battery and it's flying very far away, or you lose control of the drone, or you lose your transmission stops for some reason, what the drone does is, it always comes back and lands where the drone took off from. So this is like a safety parameter that is built into the drone, so that it always comes back if any loss of signal or any haphazard things happen. Here you can see, this is the horizon of the drone, meaning that if it turns left, the drone tilts left, right, forward, back, everything it shows here. Next, we'll look at how the autonomous navigation is done, meaning that sometimes there are times at which we cannot manually fly the drone in all locations. So what we do is we set different locations that it has to follow into many points. So this is a simple example of 5 to 6 points that I've done. So what you can do is, once this is done, we feed this to the drone, and then we just click on auto. What does it? It takes off to the altitude, and it follows the same procedure of where all it has to go, and then comes back and lands. So this can be done automatically. We don't have to control the drone at all. Just give it a command and it will follow the procedure. This can be done in very far away locations where you cannot see how far the drone is flying, long range, long altitude, or you can fly in the border areas. All these things can be done. So this is a comparison of a rotary wing, meaning the multi-rotors, and the fixed wings. What are the advantages and disadvantages of both? You look at a fixed wing, it has a lot of endurance, meaning it can fly for a longer time, because it flies based on the wind that is passing through up and down of the wings, which always keeps it level. That is why a fixed wing flies for a very longer time compared to a multi-rotor. And these fixed wings can fly beyond line of sight, meaning when you're flying a drone, you might be able to see the drone up to 500 meters or 600 meters. So when you want to fly much further away from that, you can use a fixed wing because it flies much faster and it flies for a much longer time. So you can go further away and then come back soon before the battery or the engine is completely exhausted. But the disadvantages of a fixed wing is that you require a launching device, meaning you might need a runway for it to take off, or you have to throw it. If it's a small aircraft, you throw it from your hand launch. And landing and takeoff is difficult. You need an open area for landing. And flying a fixed wing is a little difficult than a multi-rotor because it always keeps moving. It's not constant. It's not stationary like a multi-rotor. When you're flying a multi-rotor, you leave all your commands, meaning that your flying commands in your joystick. If you leave all of them, still the drone stays level and it locates in one place. But a fixed wing, that's a plane, it just keeps moving in all directions. So you cannot keep it in a single place. So it's pretty much, you need to be always concentrating on the drone. So it's much harder to fly. When you look at a multi-rotor, it has the ability to hover. Hover in the sense it can fly and stand in a single place. So it flies vertically and then lands horizontally, which is very easy and it's an advantage. And it's very easy to fly. Teaching people takes less than 2 to 3 hours training that we give. It's very useful. But this drone flies very less time. If a fixed wing flies for an hour, a multi-rotor flies maybe half of it, maybe 30 minutes, that's it. So the uses of a fixed wing or a multi-rotor is, this is an example of a DJI Phantom. It's an example, I'm sure everybody would have seen this flying in the marriages and stuff. This is the same drone. So what its actual use is, we use it for short ranges, flying very close by, it takes off vertically, horizontally. And it's used for inspection works, like flying under the bridges, checking how far the solar plants are, flying over missions. So when you're flying a multi-rotor, these are the advantages or the uses of a multi-rotor. In a fixed wing, the plane model, it is capable of flying for larger duration, covers larger areas. It fly much far and cover a lot of area. They are used for surveying and mapping large areas. These are some examples of mapping. Mapping in the sense, you can see a drone flies over agricultural fields. When they're flying agricultural fields, you can find the yield of the agriculture. So you just have to feed after getting all the videos and photos that it takes. You can feed it to a computer and tell them that how much it has flown. Based on that, you can calculate how much yield, in the sense how much output is coming from the crops. So it's much easier if you're covering acres and acres of land. It's very easy to do this. It will finish it off in 15, 20 minutes. It can cover maybe a large area. The center photo is flying over a mining field. So when you're flying over mining field, you can use these drones for calculating how much material they've excavated. So based on how much area, height and depth that they've covered, you can actually calculate how much material that has been excavated from there. So this is very useful because we have been doing projects here in Karnataka where the government here were asking us to find out how much people have excavated from a place like sand mining or limestone mining. You can find out how much material they have taken out. The government gives very specific area that they have to mine. You should not mine more than that. But the people usually, they might or they might not do. That's not my choice. But still, when they do, you can fly over them and then find out how much excavation has been done. They are mining legally or illegally. It can be easily calculated. The third one is showing that the drone is flying over disaster areas. So these places you can approach where people cannot go there. They can find out any human life is available, people are available. So this can be used over drones there. This is an example of a pesticide drone which covers very large area. We can fill up the containers with pesticides and then fly over large areas of agricultural fields and spraying them very efficiently. When we do it manually, there is a very loss of pesticides because it sprays very concentrated ones. Excuse me. But then when you're flying it through a drone, because of the wind that it is creating, it sprays it in a very minute amount of droplets, which is spreads over very large, vast areas. So it's very fast and very efficient to do. The second photo is of a drone which is used for a man, or they're just experimenting for carrying people from one location to another using a drone kind of an aircraft. The third one is used for surveillance for the police department, where they are flying over crowded areas, finding any places where they cannot fly over, beaches, crowded people, any affected peoples are there. So police people are also a majority of people who use drones to control crowds. And the last photo is of a medical drone, which is used for supplying medical equipment to a very large, long distances, or it can go where traffic is very high. So these things can be transported very fast. So this is an example of an output that our company had done. This is a general mapping of a UAV. Mapping in the sense you just like we see a Google map photo. But the Google map, when you zoom in a lot, it becomes very blur because it's taken from the satellite. It becomes very blur. But when you're flying it through a drone, you can attach all the photos together and make a big map of it. So this is a specific example of that. We flew around a small campus just to see how the output was coming out. This is a 3D view model of a drone sample video. So what we had done is they had asked us to fly over a specific town or specific area to find out how many buildings, factories are there. So in this way, what we can do is once the output arrives, you can actually see a 3D view of it. You can zoom in and zoom out and then check how clear, how elevation it is. Because this concept was used when we were doing for the Haryana government. They were asking us to find out how much people were how much area they're built over, for people avoiding tax, house tax, loan tax and all. So generally you need to pay a tax for how much area you build, right? So what happens is when we fly over the city, we can give them a specific area of how much the house is built over. And then they check if that is the exact how much they have registered for. So that is one of the government's projects that was done. So this is an example of that. This is the example which I said, the comparison between Google Map and the UAV mapping. Left one shows the Google Maps resolution, meaning that when you zoom in very high, meaning we come very close to the Earth's surface, it becomes very blurred. But you can see the same location which was flown by a UAV drone. This is actually not a single photo, it's actually multiple photos which is joined together to make it so clear. So UAV, this resolution is very high. You can actually zoom in so much that you can see even a small rock or a small painting that is done on the road. It's that clear. And this photo was taken maybe the height is around 60 to 70 meters height. Since the height of the drones are very low, we get a very clear photo. These are some of the uses of drones that we use for inspection purposes, where people cannot go there and specifically manually search for any damages that have been done. The first photo shows a solar panel inspection. You can see that there are usually the solar panels are very huge when they do it in a commercial way. There are a lot of commercial people out there, but when a lot of inspection is done, it is very slow. But when doing through a drone, this photo you can see the orange photo that is taken through a thermal camera. So a drone is mounted with a thermal camera. It shows color differences in orange, different colors, so that it shows how hot and how low temperature a specific location is. When you fly a drone on top of the solar panels, you can actually find everything to be in a specific color. But if there is a mismatch in color, meaning that there's too bright, that means there's a error in that specific shield. So you can go and replace only that specific component, and then the solar panels completely reset to normal. So this can be done very large and very fast areas, because you don't have to go specifically search for each and every panel. You just fly the drone over the panel and it will tell you where the mismatches. Another example is the bridge inspection. You can when you fly a drone very close to the bridges, you can actually see from this photo that we are checking bolts and cracks in the buildings. So you cannot go there, a man cannot just go there, climb, and it will be very difficult to do this. But they send drones up in the air, they take it inch by inch, place by place, they check, and they find out if there are any cracks or there are any loose connections. Everything is done through a drone. A wind inspection is also done through a drone, because we would have seen that it's very high and you will not be able to climb on the outer side. There is just a single pipeline that goes in, and a single person goes top and then sees where any cracks are there, any damages have been done. But a drone can do it in a much efficient and much safer way. A person has to just stand down, fly the drone, and check it in the video that any cracks are there, or any damages have been done, any bird strikes are there, or anything like that. Same thing for high tension wires. We have seen that a lot of people die when they fall off or they get electrocuted. So a drone can fly very close to the tension wires and check the quality of the thing after a very long time, or any connections have been lost, or any malfunctions have been there. So this is an example of how our drones can be used for various fields in the world. So we can compare now UAVs and a manned aircraft. What are the differences, advantages and disadvantages? So first you can see that remotely piloted vehicles will never fully replace manned, obviously. You cannot completely replace a manned aircraft with a UAV, because a person's judgment cannot always be, the piloted people always are better. If you ask for my side, is better than a drone's, because you have that judgment in the last moment what to do and what not to do. But a remotely piloted aircraft, meaning that a drones cannot make a judgment on its own. It has to be coded or it has to be written, but it cannot take decisions on its own. So next you can see that they have a large area, but the advantages of a drone are they are very small. So when you're flying at a different country or a different areas, they cannot be easily detected by the radar because they're so small. Radar usually sends signals upwards, and the signals which get returned back reflecting from the aircraft is when it detects the aircraft. This is the general concept of a radar. So when you do that, when the drone is very small, the amount of signals which hits the drone and comes back is very less. So you're not able to find that aircraft is flying or not when it's flying at such a high altitude. So in that way, it is very advantageous flying in maybe another foreign country or something. It's very useful. And then you can see that it's very cost effective. It's very cheap, even if it crashes here and there, because it's very small, maybe a 1 kg or 2 kg class, it just falls somewhere. It's very cheap. Maybe 20, 30,000, you can replace the concept. But when a fixed wing or the big planes fly and it crashes, it's very disastrous to people and the company too. So in that way, it is very advantageous. Next. So now we'll come and look at the UAV that has been developed by India. So this is a UAV which is called Lakshya, which has been developed by DRDO in Bangalore. So it is a very high-speed UAV, and it can range up to 150 kilometers, placed in the rear of the UAV. Once it takes off to a specific height, the rocket assisted stops and then main engine starts. And this is used for military purposes. This is a very fascinating UAV because it is used for training the Navy and the Army people for shooting purposes. Meaning this drone flies ahead, they tie a big long rope and they pull another vehicle which is behind. And then people from the Navy or the Air Force take target practice. They fire the payload which is flying behind. And then this is to simulate that how to act when someone is coming in flying or someone is bringing a aircraft in between. You cannot simulate something like that. So for a real-time use, the Indian market created this drone so that the Navy or the defense personnel can practice firing upon moving targets. So this is one of those drones. This is another drone which is also developed by the DRDO. It is a medium altitude and long endurance, a male type of UAV. Its weight is about 250 kgs and payload carry ability is about 100 kgs. So this one flies for a very long amount of time. It can fly a very large area. And this is mainly used for high surveillance and long endurance flights. This is another UAV. It's called Nishant. It is a smaller one. And the Rustam actually requires a runway to take off. The previous drone, this one just has a jet engine, so it just takes off from where it is. You don't require a runway or anything. But the Rustam, the first one which is shown, you require a long runway for it. It takes off using that. The Nishant drone, the DRDO's Nishant drone, is capable of flying up to 150 kilometers and up to a payload of 45 kg. This is specifically used for day and night surveillance. You can, it has both a day-night camera, which is used for flying, and this one has a catapult, meaning that it has a launcher. Like you have that proper launcher, right? You have that for this, and it is used for launching. Once the drone takes off and achieves a specific speed, the engine which is present in the drone starts and then takes off from there. So these three are the UAVs that has been developed by the DRDO in India. So this slide will shows us in which all departments or which all sectors the drones have been used for. In government side, it's been used for the police and the civil security purpose, or the border security. Coast Guard people have been using these things so that it's easy for them to survey people. The firefighting, you can see that they carry large amounts of water and pesticides so that firefighting and other major incidents. If it cannot be achieved, like in mountainous areas, a drone is easier to send and check where the person has been stuck so that he can be rescued easily by sending people after they have found where the current person is. In the energy sector, meaning the oil and gas industry or the grid industry, as I showed you that for inspection purposes or finding out how much infrastructure is required, the drones have been used for. In agricultural field, you can see that they've been used for crop dusting, meaning the fertilizations, using how much resources have been using. So it is used for in these purposes. In earth and observation, you can see that for climate monitoring, aerial photography, mapping and survey, and seismic activities too. In communication and broadcasting, the bigger size drones are used. The HALES, which is long endurance and high altitude drones, these ones are used for. As we know that when there are advantages, there always are disadvantages too. So the disadvantages of drones are very few, but they have to be looked out for. The thing that it is a computer, it is a miniature, so it can be hacked and obviously viruses can go in. But it's very minimal because it's very secured line that we use. So it is very minimal, but yes, it does happen. And then it can be used only for small material transport. You cannot carry a large amount of materials from one location to other using a drone. So that is also a disadvantage. And then obviously the weather conditions, high wind, high rains and stuff, the smaller kinds of drones are very not compatible to it. And obviously you cannot, it has a very limited amount of flight time. So that is also a problem. You cannot fly, refuel in midair because it's all battery powered. But if you're flying a UAV which is gas powered, yes, it is possible to refuel in flight. And obviously, if you lose contact, most of the time it has a fail-safe, meaning you lose contact, it comes back and lands, but sometimes we do lose drones. So that is also a disadvantage of a drone. And that's all for today's webinar. Thank you.
Balasubramanian, the session was really a great technical feast to all of us. It was a highly informative session. And we all got a lot of insights, that is practical insights. Like the drones, we were also taken off to various practical events. So we are extremely thankful. So now I request the participants, if you have any queries, you can post it in the chat box and it can be answered by our speakers.
Thank you for all the feedback that you've given, sir. Thank you. And I think some of them have asked for what CUAV is. A CUAV is more of a tactical UAV. You can compare it to something like the Predator, which the US people use, which is used for combat purposes, which can carry, you can say, carry missiles and payloads or bomb drops. So those are pretty much a very larger scaled aircrafts, which can be flown from a different area, meaning that if I want to fly a drone from here, I can connect it online and fly a drone which is specifically placed somewhere in maybe Jammu Kashmir or any other states. So you can fly something like that from here, and you can send it over to another state and fly using those. So they're very large aircrafts and they're used for combat purposes. That's more of a COV purpose. So if anybody has any doubts or something, you can put it up in the chat, or I'm sure you can contact my email ID or something. You can contact anytime. Thank you, ma'am.
So we have got Mr. Krishna Kumar sir. He has joined us in this session. He is the Director Alumni of Francis Xavier Engineering College. So I call upon Krishna Kumar sir to wish our alumni.
Good evening, Balasubramaniam.
Hello, sir. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you from Bangalore chapter. And
Thank you, sir.
And the presentation is also very excellent and very useful, informative. And you can encourage our junior members to have an idea about your unmanned vehicles. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the support.
Bala, thank you so much. Your session was very wonderful. It was useful, and and in a nutshell, we are so proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
And God bless. Love and regards to all at home.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So participants, if you have further any queries, it can be posted to our speaker's mail ID. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. Now I request Mr. Iseki Rajaved, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE and mentor of our speaker to propose vote of thanks.
The good even never things in the world. They take only a pass and keep us waiting for the next. Distinguished spokesperson of the day, learned professors, participants from various institutions and organizations, and student friends. Good evening, Undar. I feel honored and privileged to propose the vote of thanks for alumni till webinar through by your EV department. But first and foremost, I thank the Lord Almighty for showering His blessings in all our efforts. Next, I am delighted to convey our sincere thanks to the speaker of today's event, Engineer Balasubramaniam, UAV Engineer, Exam Systems, Bangalore, who has graced this event for his busy schedule. I am sure that his today's knowledge sharing is going to be highly impressive and motivating for the participants. Thank you, sir. I thank our beloved chairman, Dr. S. Cletus Professor, and our vice chairperson, Mrs. Family Cletus Babu ma'am, for their blessings and inspirations. I thank our beloved managing director, Engineer C. Arun Babu sir, for all his guidance and support extended to us arranging this event. Thank you, sir. And we look forward to your continuous support in the days to come. I thank our respected General Manager Development, Dr. K. Jayakumar sir, for all his guidance and motivation extended to us for his arrangement. I thank our respected Principal, Dr. Velmugan sir, for all his valuable suggestions and guidance for the team. And especially my sincere thanks to Mr. Krishna Kumar sir, Professor Alumni, for his continuous support towards this event. I thank you, sir. Finally, I thank our respected HOD, Mrs. J. Prista ma'am, for all her valuable suggestion guidance for this event. And also, I thank to alumni coordinators, this Dr. R. Parlan, Mr. Suresh Chindathambi, and Andrew Robert for coordinating this event in our institution for the intellectual growth of the student. Finally, I would also like to thank all the participants who have joined with us across the state, from abroad, students and faculties in our department successfully organized. Thank you. Thank you.